Have you ever felt like something greater is calling you, but you can't quite understand where that calling comes from? Have you ever had the feeling that your life is asking for an awakening, for clarity, for a deeper meaning, but you don't know where to start? In today's video, you're going to discover how three major spiritual traditions, Buddhism, mystical Christianity, and Shamanism, explain the awakening of consciousness. Three different paths, yet each one can illuminate exactly what you might be going through right now. If you've been feeling lost, disconnected, emotionally tired, or stuck in cycles that no longer make sense, here you will find answers. And more than that, you will understand how to apply principles that truly transform your mind, your spirit, and the way you see the world. This video is not theory. It is a practical guide to help you find inner peace, purpose, spiritual strength, and a level of clarity you may not even imagine you can reach. And as you listen to each tradition, you'll notice an invisible thread connecting all of them. A thread that may unlock exactly what you're searching for today. So before we continue, comment below. Which tradition makes me the most curious? Buddhism, Christianity, or Shamanism? This helps the video reach more people. And of course, hit the like button and subscribe, because here you'll find deep, clear, and transformative content, always focused on helping you evolve for real. Get ready, your awakening may begin now. When we talk about spiritual awakening, many people imagine something mystical, distant, or almost impossible to reach. But awakening is not a magical state. It is an internal, silent process in which you begin to see life with more clarity, more awareness, and more truth. It's when you realize there is something inside you that was asleep and now begins to wake up. This awakening involves a deep shift in how you deal with thoughts, emotions, and decisions. Suddenly, what once controlled you loses its power. You stop living on autopilot. You start questioning your choices, patterns, and beliefs. And little by little, you begin making decisions that reflect who you truly are. All spiritual traditions, Buddhism, mystical Christianity, and Shamanism, agree on something essential. Awakening is self-knowledge in its deepest form. It is when you recognize your true nature and understand that most suffering comes from internal conflict. When you face yourself with honesty, everything begins to align. A crucial point is understanding that awakening is not escaping from problems or disconnecting from the world. On the contrary, it is learning to face life with presence, lucidity, and emotional maturity. It's when you feel pain but don't become the pain. Maybe you're going through this right now. A subtle internal change you can't explain. A desire to distance yourself from certain people, to change habits, to seek something deeper. This is a clear sign that something inside you is beginning to awaken. And understanding this process is already a major part of the transformation. In this video, you'll understand how each tradition explains awakening and how to apply these teachings in your daily life. Awakening is not distant. It is not reserved for monks, saints, or shamans. It is something already happening inside you, and it only needs to be recognized. Buddhism describes awakening as the moment when the mind finally sees reality as it truly is, not as it imagines it to be. For Buddhists, most of our suffering comes from attachment, illusion, and the constant attempt to control what is not in our hands. Awakening happens when you learn to observe life with more lightness and less resistance. Meditation is the central tool in this process. When you sit in silence and observe your thoughts, you begin to realize that you don't have to believe everything your mind creates. This simple perception already reduces anxiety, anger, and emotional overload. You act with awareness, not impulse. For Buddhism, the ego is the great creator of suffering. It convinces us we need to prove something, achieve something, or protect our image at all costs. When this ego loses strength, you experience inner freedom. Not because everything around you changed, but because you changed your relationship with the world. Buddhist awakening also involves compassion. When you recognize your own pain, you naturally see others' pain with more understanding and less judgment. This transforms relationships, conversations, conflicts, and choices. You become more present, lighter, and more aware of your impact on others. Applying Buddhism in daily life can be simple. 2 minutes of conscious breathing, a pause before reacting impulsively, or observing your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Small practices have a massive impact because they train your mind not to drown in itself. Perhaps Buddhism's greatest message is this: true freedom doesn't come from changing the world, but from changing how you relate to it. When you awaken your consciousness, everything around you begins to make much more sense. Mystical Christianity explains awakening as a return to God. Not a distant God, but a present one who speaks to the heart. It is a process of surrendering fears, emotional burdens, and insecurities, allowing divine love to transform how you feel and perceive life. Contemplative prayer is one of the pillars of this path. Unlike traditional prayer, it is not a request, but an encounter, a moment when you quiet your mind to hear what God wants to show you. In this silence, deep things begin to arise: clarity, emotional healing, peace, and answers that feel like they come from a greater place within you. Mystical Christianity also speaks of purification of the heart, recognizing and releasing emotions, guilt, traumas, and resentments that keep you disconnected from your true self. When the heart is cleansed, you become more open to love, intuition, and divine presence. Another central element is surrender of the ego. Here, awakening doesn't happen by trying to control life, but by learning to trust. When you release what you cannot carry, you create space for God to move what you cannot move alone. This trust removes an enormous weight from your shoulders. Applying this path daily can be simple: pausing to breathe when anxiety rises, praying when the heart feels heavy, or placing in God's hands what you cannot solve. These small gestures align you with your essence and strengthen your spirituality. In mystical Christianity, awakening is feeling guided, realizing you are never alone. As this awareness grows, your life aligns with a deeper purpose, something that gives you direction, meaning, and inner strength. Shamanism sees awakening as a return to the human being's most original essence. It is reconnection with nature, the body, and the spiritual forces always around you, though modern life makes us forget them. In shamanism, awakening is remembering who you were before masks, fears, and conditioning. This path emphasizes intuition. Shamans teach that each person has an inner spirit that knows exactly where to go, but the noise of the world silences that wisdom. When you awaken, you begin to notice signs, insights, and synchronicities that you once ignored. It feels like life itself starts speaking to you. Emotional healing is also essential. Shamanism works with the idea of shadows, old pain, trauma, and blockages you carry inside. Facing them with courage frees vital energy and brings back parts of yourself trapped in the past. It is intense but deeply liberating. Nature is the greatest guide in this tradition. Being outdoors, touching the ground, feeling the wind, listening to natural sounds. All of this slows the mind and brings you back to presence. When you disconnect from nature, you disconnect from yourself. When you return to it, your consciousness naturally reorganizes. Applying shamanism can be simple: walking barefoot, watching the sky in silence, or taking slow, conscious breaths. These small rituals create inner space for clarity, peace, and emotional balance. Shamanic awakening is ultimately a reconnection with yourself, with nature, and with the greater spirit that guides you. It shows that you don't need to run from life. You need to learn how to listen to it. And once that listening becomes part of who you are, you walk the world with more strength, purpose, and presence. Even though Buddhism, mystical Christianity, and shamanism seem very different, they share a central truth. Awakening is an inner movement. None of these traditions puts power outside of you. All of them teach that real transformation begins when you turn inward and recognize the truth of your own consciousness. Another point they share is the dissolution of the ego. In Buddhism, the ego is an illusion. In mystical Christianity, it is the pride that blocks divine love. In shamanism, it is a mask hiding deep wounds. Liberation happens when you stop living trapped inside a limited self and expand into a larger, truer consciousness. All three traditions also emphasize presence. In Buddhism, through meditation and mindfulness. In mystical Christianity, through contemplative prayer. In shamanism, through nature connection. You awaken when you learn to be here, now, not lost in the past, future, or chaos of your thoughts. Another shared theme is emotional healing. Buddhism teaches how to observe suffering without identifying with it. Christianity offers purification of the heart. Shamanism helps you face and integrate your shadows. Different methods, same destination, freeing the soul from what suffocates it. They also highlight inner listening. Buddhism calls it natural wisdom. Christianity calls it the voice of the spirit. Shamanism calls it intuition or the guiding spirit. Awakening happens when you listen to what comes from within, not only to the noise from outside. And the deepest lesson, awakening is a continuous process, not a single event. It unfolds through small steps, silence, courage, honesty, and presence. This journey, unique to each person, is what transforms life from the inside out. Spiritual awakening begins with simple, consistent steps. The first step is to create moments of silence in your routine. Just 5 minutes a day of deep breathing and observing your thoughts without trying to control them. This calms the mind, increases clarity, and opens space for your consciousness to reorganize. The second step is to observe your emotions without running away from them. When you feel anxiety, sadness, irritation, pause. Notice what's happening inside you. Don't fight it, just see it. This reduces reactivity and strengthens emotional intelligence. The third step is conscious gratitude. Not ignoring problems, but balancing your perspective. Identifying 3 things you are grateful for every day teaches your mind to focus on what sustains your peace, not just on what threatens it. The fourth step is reconnecting with nature, even in simple ways. Walking outside, putting your feet on the ground, feeling the wind. This calms the body, grounds the mind, and enhances presence. The fifth step is creating a spiritual dialogue, in whatever form fits your belief, through prayer, meditation, journaling, or honest internal reflection. Ask yourself, what does my soul need today? This activates inner listening, the core of every spiritual tradition. Finally, awakening happens when you commit to your truth, not to perfection, but to honesty, recognizing your shadows, valuing your strengths, and walking with integrity. When you live this way, your life naturally transforms because you stop following the world and start following your own consciousness. Throughout this video, you explored 3 spiritual paths that all lead to the same truth. Spiritual awakening is a return inward. It is when you finally begin seeing yourself with clarity, courage, and presence. And if you reach this point, it means something inside you is seeking transformation, something that refuses to remain asleep. It doesn't matter which tradition touched you most. What matters is that right now you are taking a step many never take, the step of looking within, the step of wanting to evolve, the step of wanting to understand your own soul. Few people have this courage, and that alone sets you on a different path. Maybe you're going through internal changes, emotional confusion, cycles ending, or moments in which nothing makes sense. Know this, it's not a sign of collapse, it's a sign of awakening. Every deep change begins with discomfort. Every evolution begins with chaos. And it is in this movement that your true strength is born. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require speed. It doesn't require perfection. It only requires presence. One step a day, one choice at a time, a little more awareness, a little more truth, a little more silence. If you keep this up, your life will transform in ways you can't yet imagine. Before we close, I have an invitation. Comment below which tradition spoke most to your heart today. Buddhism, mystical Christianity, or shamanism. Your comment might inspire someone else on the same journey. And this simple gesture helps this message reach more people. If this video touched you, leave a like and subscribe. Here you'll find deep reflections, spiritual clarity, self-knowledge, and content that truly transforms how you see the world. Thank you for being here. May your awakening continue, and may you walk closer and closer to your truth.